My name is John Ruddick. I'm the Liberal Democrats candidate for the Senate in New South Wales. And I want to talk today about something very significant that Premier Don Perrottet said in Sydney recently. Now, a lot of you have seen it, but I really want to break this down because it really does tell us so much about what we've lived through with the COVID hysteria over the past 2 years. So Premier Perrottet, a couple of weeks ago, spoke at the Committee for the Economic Development of Australia, which is known as CEDA. And this is a non-political group of pretty serious sort of business people and academics who are involved in sort of, the economic development of Australia. Okay, so the Premier spoke there, very good. He gave us sort of stock standard speech. Then he sat down for some Q&A afterwards. Now, this is where he was remarkably frank and honest, okay? That just tells us so much. Now, I firstly want to say, look, I know Don Perrottet quite well. I've worked quite closely with him over the years, and I can tell you, look, he's a really bright guy. He's a very nice guy, and he is a man of integrity. Now, he's surrounded by a lot of dopes in his New South Wales cabinet and his political party, but he's basically a very honest person, as we're about to see here. Now, I would say the gold standard for COVID response has been Sweden and Florida. Okay, let's say we give those two entities 9 out of 10. Well, I'd still only give Don Perrottet a 3 out of 10, but every other political leader in this country, including the Prime Minister, gets a 1 out of 10 for their COVID response. So 3 out of 10 is still pretty good. So I don't really want to be critical of Don Perrottet, but I do want to point out some very interesting things that he said. Okay, so let's have a look at that first clip.
So it's very clear to me early on when I became Premier, particularly when Omicron started, was that the relationship with Dan Andrews, for me, was going to be a particularly important one. I get criticised for being the open up guy. He gets criticised for being the lock it down guy. So if we could somehow work together and have similar settings in place, the ability for the media to criticise and instill fear in the community based on the approaches we were taking, we would take that off the table. So it was a strategic plan for both of us to mirror our settings where possible. And that has proven to be incredibly successful.
Okay, so hang on there, Tom. You've just said that this strategy you've got was incredibly successful. Okay, what did we cure COVID? Did you and Dan Andrews, your best mate, cure COVID? No, you're incredibly successful in managing the media. Okay, so you're saying that the media's hysteria about COVID was out of control, so out of control that you, from the right wing of the Liberal Party, and Dan Andrews from the left wing of the Labor Party, could come together, secretly collude about how you would come out with these policies about COVID, and they were designed to settle down the media hysteria. Now, this is the key thing. Great leaders don't follow polls. Great leaders change polls. Now, we can't have a situation where our leaders, our premiers, are basically admitting that they walk around thinking, what can I do to appease the corporate media? I don't want to get in trouble. So this is what was motivating our COVID response for so long. And remember, Dom's one of the best ones. Okay, so let's have a look at the second of 3 clips.
It was the most ironic one I thought was, we ended up bringing QR codes back when we weren't even tracking and tracing. There was no science behind it at all. It had zero utility. But there was a massive campaign, and when those massive campaigns get run, what it does, it depletes confidence. And that kind of reporting, as we've seen over this period of time, has depleted confidence in our people. So we actually brought it back for one reason only, to instill confidence so that people would go out with using QR codes. But where Dan and I reached that agreement was if we could come out on the same day with the same settings, whilst he would get attacked for not going far enough, and I'd get attacked for going way too far, we could work with each other to say, well, go look at Victoria, and he could say, go look at what Dom's doing in New South Wales. And it worked perfectly.
Okay, so there you have it. There you have it. Okay, so why did we have QR codes towards the end? Well, the Premier's just told us. He told the public. It wasn't behind closed doors. They had no purpose. It was designed to psychologically make some people who had been freaking out about things feel more comfortable because they've got a QR code. So those QR codes were pretty insidious things. I mean, we're all sort of, familiar with George Orwell's 1984 about, a heavy-handed state, constant surveillance on us. But that's exactly what these QR codes were. Maybe the thin edge of the wedge, but it can only get worse from there. But now we're told they serve no purpose. It was designed to try and make the media settle down and stop being so hysterical about it. We can't have the media running the country. This is why we have parliaments and premiers, so they can be the leaders. Okay, let's have a look at the third clip.
Schools. I mean, when we announced schools going back, the media would rush to find the scariest epidemiologist who was out there saying every child across New South Wales would die. And that was a problem because we had to instill confidence. So what did we do together? We agreed that we'd go and get all these rapid antigen tests, which was a massive feat. I mean, we procured millions of these tests and had the plan together where we distributed them before school started to 3,000 schools across our state and 5,000 childcare and early childhood education centres. And by doing that together and having that plan, and here's another interesting thing about the pandemic, health completely disagreed with this approach, by the way. They didn't see the point of having surveillance testing, but education wanted it because we needed to once again instill confidence in our teachers and instill confidence in our parents that children would be safe at school. And New South Wales and Victoria, once again, a Liberal state and a Labor state, having exactly the same policy in the main, really built that confidence in. So when those reports came in, those concerns came in to parents, that there was that sense that, well, if it's good enough for New South Wales and it's good enough for Victoria, I have greater confidence. I have greater confidence in the approach. And what have we seen since then? I think one of the most important successes over this period of time.
Okay, so, well, look, there it is. So all those rat tests, all the hysteria went on for 2 months about the rapid antigen tests into the schools and in the childcare centres. It was all a show. It was all designed just to sort of dampen the hysteria, dampen the irrationality, because we didn't have strong leadership. We had weak leadership, and we had the situation where, the Department of Health says schools don't need rapid antigen tests. Oh, no. But so that's what the Department of Health said. That's Kerry Chant's Department of Health. I mean, Kerry's been sort of at the forefront of the hysteria, but even Kerry Chant says, well, look, I don't really think we need these rat tests in schools. So then what happens was the Department of Education says, no, we want them. Okay, well, we don't want the people from the Department of Health educating our kids, and we don't want the people from the Education Department setting our health policy. But no, our weak political leaders had to go along with it. Education says the teachers say they want rat tests because they've been watching too much corporate news. And they're freaked out. They shouldn't be freaked out. Political leaders should be explaining to them, you don't need to be so freaked out. But anyway, we went to all that expense with all the rats and all over the place. And it's a great achievement, according to the Premier. Him and Dan Andrews from the Uni Party out there colluding to manipulate the media. They patted themselves on the back, said, we did a great job. We didn't cure COVID. COVID went through the roof still, even after the vaccine program. But we got the media to settle down. So who's running the country, ladies and gentlemen? It doesn't feel like our political leaders are. Anyway, the election's around the corner. I'd be grateful if you could consider voting for the Liberal Democrats, and to find out more about us, please type into your search engine, Liberal Democrats Freedom Manifesto, and you'll see our 30-page document with our 10-point plan about the 10 policies we need to turn Australia around and to have strong leadership, which we're not having now from the Uni Party. Thank you very much.
Authorised by R. Cribb for the Liberal Democratic Party, Sydney, New South Wales.